is Jackie. I'm a sophomore at TCU, and I'm here. I have the pleasure speaking with Chief Rangel from TCU Police Department.
Hi, I'm Robert Rangel. I'm the Chief of Police here at TCU. There's some other people in the room with us that I'd like to introduce. My boss, the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Public Safety, Adrian Andrews. He's over the police department as well as emergency management, parking, transportation, and clearing. I also have two of my three commanders for the police department. Steve Enright is our commander over the support division, the administrative leg of the police department. Fred Long is our commander, lieutenant over the Operations Patrol Bureau. And we also have one of our midnight sergeants, one of four patrol sergeants, Armando Garza.
Great. So we do have a bunch of questions come in from TCU students all over campus. And so we'll do a bit of a Q&A. Chief Ringel, our first question is going to be, what's the most common type of crime on campus that students should be aware of?
The single most common crime is probably theft. All kind of thefts from laundry that's stolen from or is taken without permission from our laundromats in the residence halls to a car theft, which we don't have very often, but we had one in recent days. The most common are bikes and scooters are probably our leading problem right now that we're trying to address. We have a etching program that you'll see around campus. We see our officers at tabling events, and we encourage everybody to please put their stop by and get their scooters etched with some identification so that if they are recovered, that we know who to get them back to.
Awesome. And what's being done to keep campus safe?
We have multiple layers of things that we do to keep the campus safe. It is our number one priority, the safety and security of the campus. We have, I think, our greatest asset is the officers and the people that we have, very experienced. The average experience of the officers at TCU is about 27 years of police experience in all type of disciplines within law enforcement. We have police, a lot of them that retired from the Fort Worth Police Department, some from the Department of Public Safety, and other agencies in the area. So that's our greatest asset. Their skill set, their knowledge that they bring to campus really helps us serve this community well. We have blue lights across campus that can be used when someone is in trouble and needs to call the police. We have a safety app, Frog Shield, that we encourage everyone, students, faculty, staff, guests, to download. It's free, and it has an emergency button function, among many other functions, safety functions. But the one that we're want everybody to be aware of is the emergency button, because if someone pushes that emergency button on Frog Shield, our dispatch, our emergency dispatch, gets an immediate notification. It gives us a GPS location of where that phone is, and officers are immediately dispatched to that location to try to respond to what we presume is an emergency until we have information to the contrary. It doesn't get used very frequently other than accidental activations. It helps us to prove that it's working because so far it seems to be pretty accurate. But we'd rather someone have it when they need it rather than not have downloaded it, really needed it in an emergency, and not be able to have it to utilize. It works on and off campus. If the button is pushed while you're off campus, it defaults to 911. When you're on campus, it will, again, go straight to our dispatch, and our officers will respond. If it's an emergency off campus and relatively nearby, within about a mile of campus, our officers will still respond until the local jurisdiction, typically in this case, the Fort Worth Police Department, can respond.
Yeah, those are great aspects that TCU Police Department has. What should I do if someone is following me on campus?
Well, it's a good segue to the Frog Shield, right?
Yeah.
And so immediately call police. Frog Shield is the easiest way to do that, but students, faculty, staff can also dial our direct number to dispatch, our emergency number, 257-7777. And you'll be speaking directly to dispatcher, who can send officers to respond. We do get, many times, we get calls after the fact, so we really encourage anyone that even has a bad feeling about something to trust their instincts and call. We much rather go to 999 calls that turn out to be nothing than to miss that one call. Somebody could have called us early enough so that we could intercede before anything bad happened.
That's great. What are some safety precautions that TCU Police Department are putting in place for sophomores who are living off campus in housing areas such as Liberty Lofts?
Yeah, Liberty Lofts is probably the most challenging because it is the furthest away from what's designated as on-campus housing. Fortunately, it's not too far away, and it's patrolled heavily by our patrol officers. Actually, before this meeting, because I got that question on an email that we included in this video stream. And so I looked at the statistics before we got here, and since August 1st, our officers have patrolled and gone to Liberty Lofts to do routine patrol, aside from the calls that we were responding to regarding crimes or even suspicious people. But just routine patrols from here to Liberty Lofts was about 1,200 since August 1st. So our officers try to patrol it heavily. We try to respond to any calls, encourage the students that are living there to call us when they see anything that they believe is suspicious so that we can respond. We have been able to utilize cameras that the property owners there have implemented, and we have added a couple to address some specific issues that we've had with cars getting broken into.
Thank you so much. We did have a question come in such as, can you help if I have a flat tire or any car issues?
The short answer is yes. There's some things that for risk management issues that we are prevented from doing. So we're not going to take your engine apart in the parking lot. Although many of my officers have probably sufficient knowledge to do that. But we do want you to call us so that we can respond and we can help you resolve whatever issue it is. So we can give jump starts pretty easily. We'll get air in your tires. We've had a student recently accidentally drive off a curb in just outside of Frog Alley Garage. And officers spent about an hour and a half looking at the problem and figuring out a way to get the car off the curb without damaging the car. And so I was really proud of them for that. But all of them, and I'm very proud of the officers that we have here, are go out of their way to make sure that the students, faculty, staff are treated, and we respond to them as if they were our own family members.
That's amazing. Another question we did have was, if someone steals a belonging of ours, such as a computer, who should we report that issue to?
To the police immediately. And the sooner we know about it, the sooner that we'll be able to respond. One of the other layers of security that we use to keep everybody safe is we have at this point, about 3,600 cameras on campus. And so those cameras have been very useful. They're not live monitored very often, but they are used extensively by our very experienced detectives to help them get leads and resolve crimes, which they do. The clearance rate for crimes on campus conducted by our detectives is unparalleled by any agency that I know. They're very experienced, and they have the time, or they dedicate the time to make sure that we resolve those crimes as a further deterrent to anybody that thinks they can commit a crime on TCU's campus and get away with it.
Yeah, I know you mentioned a bit earlier about the blue lights and all of the security cameras. Are there any plans in the future to implement more blue lights or more security cameras around campus?
Yeah, a lot of plans. Across the next 10 years, as many of you already know, TCU has some very ambitious plans to build out the campus. And each of the new buildings that are planned and constructed have some requirements by our video surveillance policy that requires the deployment of cameras in the same way that we have them in many of the other buildings. Now, the blue lights are also a part of that construction project, and we determine ahead of time where the best places are to deploy those so that people have access to them. But I want to emphasize again, because I can't emphasize this enough, Frog Shield is something that we want everybody to use. The blue lights are very useful. They're good as a deterrent. If you push the red button, you can talk to the dispatcher. The problem is if you're trying to get away from a threat, we don't want you staying in one place. So the Frog Shield app will allow you to keep moving to a building or a safe place, a better lit area, or towards some people that might be able to help until the police get there. And so we don't want people to be overconfident about those blue lights. And please, we prefer Frog Shield as your first line of defense.
Great. How closely does the TCU Police Department work with Fort Worth Police Department, and what does that partnership look like?
We have a great relationship with the TCU Police, or the Fort Worth Police Department. One of the reasons that we do is because out of the 32 full-time police officers that we have, including myself, and about right now 16 and up to 20, sometimes part-time auxiliary staff, about 80%, 75% of our staff is retired from the Fort Worth Police Department. So we have many of us who have been supervisors that were well respected when we were with the Fort Worth Police Department. And we have all those relationships that we can leverage to get a lot of resources that we otherwise would not be able to afford, or likely to afford, or at least would be competing with other priorities. And so there's a lot of things that we depend on from Fort Worth PD that they provide to us, both in additional staffing when we need it, investigative support, analytics, and intelligence, for us to do some preventative things as well. And so it's a great relationship that we continue to foster, cultivate, and it's very beneficial to TCU.
That's great. And staying on that topic, if there's an emergency, who should I call? 911 or TCU Police Department?
If you're going to dial in number and you're off campus, 911 is what you should dial. If you dial 911 while you're on campus, it will go to the Tarrant County Emergency Dispatch Center. And if it's on campus, they will call us, but there's a delay. So if you're on campus, we prefer that you dial us directly at that number I mentioned earlier, the 257-7777, or once again, not to beat the dead horse, but Frog Shield. If you push that emergency button and you're on campus, it automatically goes to us. If you push that button, it automatically raises the window. You push that window to actually dial the number, and it defaults to the local 911. It works globally. Anywhere Google is allowed to operate. China is an example of where it won't work. But even many other countries, our study abroad, we encourage them to use it, because if they push that button, we will get notified. We always get the GPS notification, and then we can work with the local jurisdictions or the group leaders, the organizers that are with this student, to make sure that they address what may be potentially someone needing some immediate assistance.
That's amazing. So now that we're done with a couple of those questions, we did get in a little bit more about Froggy 5.0. For the people who don't know what Froggy 5.0 is, could you explain a little bit about what this program is?
Yeah, Froggy 5.0 is our student staff program. Froggy 5.0 was a name coined by a previous chief. For those y'all who remember, Hawaii 5.0, I think that was his intent. But it's our student employees, and what they do is they provide safety escorts on foot and on golf carts during evening hours when school is in session. I think they start around 7 o'clock and they wrap up about midnight. They don't work on, or they don't operate during holidays or closings or inclement weather. But other than that, they're a supplement to safety on campus that is very helpful and useful to us. There's no reason why anyone, particularly a single person, single female in particular, who's concerned about their safety, should have to walk across campus unescorted. We have Froggy 50, security guards. If no one else is available and call load permits, a police officer will come and help escort.
That's great. Do I call or do I text to get a ride?
Call, and I can't remember that, 8567, I believe. It's on our website. If you go to TCU Police website, one of the drop-down menus at the top of that page has Froggy 50 across it. And if you go to that particular landing page, it will have information about Froggy, some Q&A answers, as well as the phone number at the top. But calling them is the best way to do that. 8563. I was close. All the numbers were there. They weren't in the right order. 8563, 817-257-8563. And there's a link to Froggy 50 on the Frog Shield app. One more time. I'm not getting any commission off that. We just really are proud to have that app because it really provides a really good way to get help when you need it.
Awesome. We do have some off-campus housing questions as well. What are some ways that the students can stay safe living off campus?
Yeah, that's challenging. I mean, we try very hard and successfully. I'm proud of the success that we have on campus to provide a very safe environment. In fact, we feel we do such a good job that we've often coined it as the Purple Disneyland because it feels a little surreal sometimes. It is an open campus, so there's always a possibility that someone can come on campus and hurt someone, but for the most part, it's pretty safe. Off campus is beyond our jurisdiction for the most part. We do respond in emergencies, as I mentioned earlier. However, we are restricted for various reasons at policing housing, particularly housing that's rented from private entities, like we would service people on TCU's campus. So the number one thing that students can do, both on campus, off campus, and in the future when they leave TCU. So the number one thing I would recommend, and something I would tell my daughter, my wife, and 3 daughters, I had 3 daughters, and is they need to be aware that they have to take ownership of their own safety, that they have to be aware of their surroundings, cognizant of the conditions that may lead and put them at greater risk. We encourage people to travel in pairs or groups, ideally, travel in well-lit areas around their off-campus residences, make sure that it's well lit, that the windows and doors are secure. Alarms are a good idea that will alert you to someone trying to breach the house. Get to know your neighbors is really important. I've been a police officer for 43 years. I did some undercover work, and I used to ride along with bad guys, thieves. And there were certain neighborhoods in Fort Worth that they would not enter into because they knew that the neighbors worked very closely on like a crime watch to help each other out. So if they saw anything suspicious, they would immediately call the police. I did that in my own neighborhood with my neighbors. It was almost impossible for anybody to come into that. It was a cul-de-sac we lived in, and to park a car or walk through without one of us getting a call asking us, is that somebody you know, or are they supposed to be there? And so a relatively small number of people in any community, any city, are responsible for a disproportionate number of the crimes. And so word circulates among the people with nefarious intent, among the criminal element, and they give each other advice about where it's profitable to steal, and as well as where there are some challenges that might get them caught by the police, and they know that they can watch for police a lot easier than it is to watch out for anybody looking out a window or a neighbor that calls in because they recognize that something's suspicious. So the single greatest thing, other than being self-aware, is also doing that as a community. So no matter what community you live in, get to know your neighbors, talk to them, and look out for each other. And that will make that particular neighborhood a lot safer than if you just everyone stays to themselves.
Yeah, that's great advice. Do you happen to have any tips now that summertime is coming for any houses that are going to be empty for long and extended periods of time?
You might have heard some of the same tips in the past. Try to just, as much as possible, make it appear as if someone is there. Again, talk to neighbors to make sure that they are aware and they report any suspicious activity. Let them know when you won't be there. It's really easy now to get apps that allow you to turn lights on and off remotely. That will give the impression that someone is actually there. I'd say don't leave any newspaper and mail on the front porch, but that's probably dated advice. But things of that nature that would indicate to someone that someone's not around. If it were me in my neighborhood and I was going to be gone for an extended period of time, I would probably give the keys to my car to the neighbor and have them move the car around every now and then to make it look like that somebody may be at the house. Because in my experience, some of the thieves that, especially some of the ones that dedicate their lives to doing this, do some homework. And we've watched them just surveil neighborhoods and watch people and watch for these signs of residence that seems to be unoccupied, doesn't have an alarm, is not well maintained, indicating that the owner or occupants may not be as cognizant about some of those safety recommendations.
And does TCU Police Department patrol nearby neighborhoods where TCU students may seem to live?
Not on a routine basis. Again, our jurisdiction, our focus to our community is that within the borders of TCU's property, the property owned and controlled by TCU. As we drive to some of the areas that we have off-campus housing, like Liberty Lofts, like we mentioned earlier, they patrol those areas because it's back and forth, or it's between main campus and those locations. But it's difficult for us to routinely patrol areas off campus. Again, there's some jurisdiction limitations, and if we spend too much time off campus, we are leaving the campus vulnerable, which has to be our first priority. Our greatest concentration of students is on campus, and it's the population that has least life experience, and so to us, it's the most vulnerable. So our focus needs to remain there.
Yeah, and now talking a little bit about student life, what's your best safety tip for students who want to go to off-campus parties or bars?
My leading advice, if you do nothing else, do this, and I'll talk about some other things, but the number one thing is, particularly if there's going to be alcohol involved, which in my observation and experience is almost all the time, is to have someone that's not drinking. And I don't mean, okay, you're only going to have one drink, Jackie, and then you're going to watch the rest of us. No drinks, no alcohol whatsoever. Have someone like a designated driver. It used to be a very common thing before rideshare. Have a designated person that was just going to watch over everyone to make sure that if there's a problem, that there's somebody that consumption of alcohol has not compromised their judgment and their perception when there's a danger, something that should be addressed. So the number one thing is, if you're going to go out, go as a group. Don't go alone, and have someone there that is designated as that person that you can trust not to break that rule. And then the second thing would be, if you are going to consume alcohol, no matter whether you're legal age or not, it's very easy, and we see it all the time, especially with inexperienced drinkers, is that it's very easy to underestimate how much alcohol someone has consumed and the impact that it has on your judgment and just your in general. And so be very careful about putting yourself in that situation by compromising with too much alcohol.
Yeah, and regarding to that topic, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see students make?
That's the number one right there. If there's no alcohol involved, I'm pretty sure I could run the campus with 2 officers and myself. A lot of the issues that we see have alcohol as a nexus, abuse of alcohol as a nexus, and beyond that, can you repeat the question? I'm going to expand on that if I can.
Oh, what are some of the biggest safety mistakes that you see students make?
Yeah, and so the other thing is, especially at night, be aware of your surroundings, and please don't walk around, especially at night, looking down at your phone. It's going to give you a little bit of night blindness, even if you look up to see around. And it's very important as you're walking around, especially at night, but even during the daylight, is to be aware of your surroundings, especially if you're by yourself, to make sure that there's not something or someone with nefarious intent that is watching you to see if they see an opportunity to harm you or to commit a property crime. So be aware of your surroundings at all times.
Awesome. Now, discussing a bit about some of the available trainings that we do have on campus, tell me about the Stop the Bleed trainings.
So Lieutenant Fred Long, who I introduced earlier, has led that program, and I'd like to get him to answer that question for me. He's got a lot more details, and he can probably be more concise than I will, because I'll be rambling trying to answer that question.
So the Stop the Bleed program is a program that was originated by the American College of Surgeons, among some other organizations, and it's a national program. It is you can take it online, you can take it in person. It's about an hour and a half long program. It's a hands-on program. We teach you things like if there's a major injury, it doesn't have to be a lot of it. You hear associated with like active shooter with like gunshot wounds and things like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, around here, everybody's on scooters. There's a high potential that at some point somebody's going to wreck on a scooter and get a compound fracture or something like that could have a major bleed. So basically, when you have major bleeding, how do you treat it? Yeah, we treat it with tourniquets, we treat it with wound packing, we treat it with direct pressure, and that's the kind of stuff we teach you. We actually have things where you can physically do the wound packing. We have things where you can put a tourniquet on a like a dummy arm that has simulated blood, things like that. So we have good instructors. We'd like to offer it up. If anybody wants to take it, get in touch with us. We can set you up. We can come to you. We can set up a training room here. We can do it wherever you want to do it. It's a great program and it's very valuable because you never know. If you have a car wreck and you get hurt and you get a compound fracture and you're stuck in a car, how do you save yourself? That's one of the things we learn. So.
Yes, and do you offer personal self-defense classes?
We do. Sergeant Richard Martinez is the point of contact on that, but I do a lot of instruction with him. It's talks about awareness. It talks about safety. It talks about pressure points. Talks about how to get away from somebody who's trying to attack you or trying to hurt you. And it culminates with an opportunity to we'll put on a red man suit and you get to beat one of us up. I mean, what else could you ask for, right? Getting to hit the cops.
Yeah.
So, last time I did that, I had bruises for about 3 days.
Oh, no.
So, it's a good program. Again, through Sergeant Martinez, you can get a hold of it by emailing him or by contacting the police department. That program also will come to you. We'll do it wherever you want us to do it. We've done it in dorms. We've done it at the rec center. We've done it here. So it's a very good program, and it teaches you how to be aware and how to take care of yourself and get away if somebody tries to attack you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet. Absolutely. Thank you.
So I know we've discussed a lot about the Frog Shield app. Can you just give us a quick 1 to 2 sentences briefly explaining again what the app is?
Yeah, it's a free safety app. Well, a lot of the features can be found. There's a landing page on our website that someone can look to get more information on that. The emergency button is the single most important thing there that will help us get you the help in an emergency when you need it most.
Awesome. And how does the anonymous reporting part work on the app? Is it really anonymous?
Yes, yeah. There's a function that allows you to send us tips if you see something suspicious or something to report a crime. And yes, it is technically possible for us to subpoena the company that provides it and run down the IP address. Uh, but we've never done that, and we wouldn't do that, assuming that the person that wanted to be anonymous wants to remain that way. So we will honor that when we get an anonymous tip. It is, however, very helpful to us if someone would leave a number, even if they don't leave a name necessarily, because a lot of times we have questions and an exchange back and forth. You can also text on that tip back and forth. Will help us to resolve the matter more quickly and efficiently.
And what kind of things do you want the students to report through the app?
Anything with a criminal nexus or suspicious activity. Again, as I said earlier, a lot of times people are reluctant to call the police when they see something that they believe is suspicious because they're afraid the police won't think it's suspicious, or they'll be wasting time, or they'll be accused of reporting behavior that turns out not to be criminal behavior. But I promise you, on our campus, when our officers respond, they will respond not presuming that someone's guilty of any crime, but rather to gather more information about what was reported. Unless it's an actual crime in progress that, that someone describes, we will try to gather more information before we take any action against someone.
And can you explain a little bit about how the Friend Watch feature works?
So, Friend Watch is a feature within Frog Shield. I almost said Frog Time. It's how we keep our time. It's something new that we're getting used to. But that feature allows, say that I'm your dad or I'm your friend, and you're going to go out on a jog around campus, and you're going by yourself, contrary to our best advice. But you're going to do it on Frog Watch. You can set a time and set me as a receiver of an alert that if you do not come back within a specified time that you set on Frog Watch, that it sends me an alert that you have not checked in, and then I would call police. We don't get the GPS coordinates, but the person, like me, I would call the police department, and then I would be able to tell them, hey, that phone is here. Oh, it's moving, and now it's here. And if we stay in communication with that person, we can go to where the phone is to investigate to make sure that that person is okay. So it's a very useful app. Keeps the police department out of it. A lot of times people don't want the police department to know their whereabouts or their actions, but they're okay letting a friend know as a safety precaution if something goes wrong.
Yeah, that's a great feature that the Frog Shield app does have. If someone reports something through Frog Shield, how fast can the TCU Police Department respond?
Our average response time on campus for an emergency is about 2 minutes, sometimes faster. We did it under a minute once. That's our record because the officer's right around the corner. But we have very rapid response time. During the day, we have a lot of officers on campus that working in various capacities. At any time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, we have a minimum of 4 officers on campus that can respond. So it's a relatively small campus geographically, and so that allows us to have that type of response time when there's a problem.
That's great. So we do have a couple personal questions as well. What got you into law enforcement, and why campus policing specifically?
Law enforcement in general, I used to hate the police when I was growing up, and that's a long story, until I met some police officers. And when I became friends with some police officers, I admired their character. I admired the fact that they were willing to take risks in furtherance of protecting other people. And I always hated bullies, and I always did it on my own anyway. So I thought that sounds like something that I was kind of born to do. And so they inspired me to do that in 1981. Seems like a long time now. And what brought me to TCU 11 years ago was that I had retired from the Fort Worth Police Department, and my youngest daughter was only 10 years old. So I had failed to do the math because they told me there'd be no math in policing. And so I obviously did not do the math and realized that I still had to figure out how I was going to pay for her to go to college. And so there's some tuition benefits that TCU offers for employees that I found very attractive. There are many of my friends that were already working at TCU that had retired from Fort Worth. My ex-partner, that we did undercover work for 9 years together, talked me into it, and as well as the assistant chief that was here before. So it's been a great experience for me and for my daughter, who graduates with a nursing degree this May. And so we're very proud of that.
That is so great. Congratulations to your daughter. On the topic about TCU, what is the best part about your job here at TCU?
In general, the people, and I mean all the people. I love the people that I work with in the police department. They're just outstanding. I couldn't ask for better staff on the police department. Adrian Andrews, I really enjoy working for him. He provides a lot of support for us, and is able to interpret a lot of things in law enforcement to the the cabinet level about why we do the things we do and what we need, the resources we need to do that. The students, faculty, and staff. It's why we very lovingly refer to it as Purple Disneyland, because everybody really is so positive. Even when people on campus disagree about a perspective, about how to get it done, everybody really does work together to accomplish the mission of or TCU's mission. And it's all for the students and then the students themselves. My experience has been they're outstanding. They make me feel really dumb because they're so smart by comparison. And I don't remember being anywhere near that smart when I was that age. And so it's really a pleasure to not just for me. It's why most of us are here. It really is a pleasure to serve this particular community.
That is so great to hear. Before we move on to parking, we have one final question. What's something fun or unexpected about you that students may not expect?
Probably the weirdest thing, I'm actually meant to bring a photograph, and I forgot to do that, of me and my partner when we were working undercover. And so, because in that photo, you will see me with long hair and a bandana and dressed in a uniform of a garbage truck driver, because that's what we were using at that time on that particular assignment to buy drugs, so people wouldn't suspect we were the police. And so I've kept that photo for a long time because my partner is a sergeant here now over the special events team, Eric Abeles. And so I'm fond of that photo and the time we spent together and some of the work that we did. And so I think if somebody saw that picture now, they would be like, that cannot be you. I was a lot thinner and better looking, better shape back then. So I'm not sure they would recognize me if I didn't point out it was me.
Thank you so much, Chief Rangel. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Now we do have a couple questions about TCU parking, so we'll continue on.
We're gonna pass that on to my boss, the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Public Safety, Adrian Andrews. I'll let him take the heat for the parking.
Excellent job, Chief.
Sure.
Hello.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Doing great.
We do have a couple questions about parking and what's upcoming about the new school year, so we decided to bring you on. Our first question is going to be, what's going on with parking this year? A bunch of the lots seem to be blocked off.
Yeah, there are a lot of lots that are blocked off right now. TCU is going off on a adventure that we're going to expand our university, expand the TCU experience, and that's going to require us to acquire more land to build resident halls and to build academic buildings as well. And when we do that, most colleges you'll see what they'll do is they'll take the existing land that they have already and land or lots, parking lots, and they'll build on those and pushing parking further and further out. And that's what's happening here at TCU. We are growing, but one of the first buildings that they're going to put up is going to be, and we have a near and dear to our heart, because it's going to be the 1,000 car parking garage plus police department. And we're really excited about that.
That is phenomenal. With all of the construction going on, where are the students supposed to park now and in the future?
Well, the lot closures for maybe 160 parking spaces won't happen until a couple of weeks from now. But then most of the structures will be shut down that we're talking about will be happen after commencement. And so most of our young people will not be here. Next year, it is going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge, but we're going to survive that by having our young people park where the most of the parking is, and that's near our football stadium. But we're going to have a transportation section that is improved, it's enhanced, and is so much better that it'll run on a clockwise system so the young people will get used to it. It'll be wrapped buses. It's going to be really nice. It's going to be TCU standards.
So amazing to hear. I do understand that we do have the shuttle services on campus already.
Yes.
Can you explain a little bit more about the shuttle services, and will it be expanded for the future years to come?
Yes, it will be. Currently, we have 2 buses that are running routes throughout campus, and not a lot of people are using them at the present time, but that is going to be something that's going to be in the past. Once we come back in the fall, it's going to be, I am right now interviewing folks for transit system, and they're offering their best services and their best buses, and we're going to have something really nice for them when our young people come back in the fall.
That is so amazing to hear. Thank you so much, Chief Andrews, for having us here. And we're just going to go ahead and wrap it up. And feel free to go to police.tcu.edu if you have any questions to follow. And as always, go Frogs!
Go Frogs.